to be sure your loved one is always trying to support you, always trying to connect with you, always present, available to you, wanting so much to be there, supporting you and communicating with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel within. I'm Mira, and today I'm speaking with Denise. I am so excited to be speaking with her. Denise is an author, spiritual guide, and founder of Healing Hearts, a support space for bereaved parents. After the loss of her son, Cory, Denise experienced a profound spiritual awakening that reshaped her relationship with grief, love, and life itself. Welcome, Denise, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
And I'm so excited to be here as well. Thank you for inviting me.
The pleasure is all mine. So let's get started with your with with talking about Cory.
Yes, yes. Cory was definitely in his own league, and he is a very amazing and powerful being. And so I just want to start from his story. He was always kind of the oddball and out in left field. And as a teenager, he got involved with drugs and alcohol. And I'm going to tell you, he brought us through the ringer. It wasn't pretty. It was very, very difficult. And it brought me to my knees, literally. I kind of went through some real self-examination with all my codependent qualities, propensities. And that was kind of the first shaking. And, here Cory was, this soul that agreed to come in to experience this, lots of things, among them addiction. It is not easy being an addict. It is not easy. His soul knew, I am going to experience this because I'm going to create some change in the world. And so it's a brave thing for a soul to take on. So at the time when you're going through it, it doesn't feel that way. It just feels like this is not fun. And nonetheless, he kind of muddled through his teen years and back in 2009, he came to Austin, Texas, where I currently live. I wasn't living here at the time that all this story happened. Um, and he found the ecstatic dance community, and he found home, and he found sobriety. And he had this amazing year of just endearing himself to the community, serving, just being in free flow and enjoying life and learning and growing. And so a year into his stay here, he had a bicycle accident where he collided head first while riding a bicycle, didn't have a helmet, with a car that was failed to yield on a left turn. And he survived it. I mean, it cut him from here to here. He had a severe traumatic head injury, etc. But it put him in a tailspin. And he decided, I've got to leave Austin and I'm going to go to San Diego, California. He took a Craigslist ride across the country and he lived homeless on the beaches and streets of San Diego. By the way, that wasn't the first time that he'd experimented with this sort of homelessness, but nonetheless, after a few months, he got tired and he didn't have any much money, so he decided, I'm going to go find me some cheap motel and food in Tijuana, Mexico. And of course, you look so vulnerable there and so innocent. And those coyotes, the ones who transport people illegally across the border, they approach you and they say, oh, we got a way for you to make some money. It's going to be easy. It's a ticketable offense. It's not a ticketable offense. It's a federal felony offense punishable up to 3 years in prison. But he was like, this is a win-win. I get to bring somebody across the border and I get to get money to go home. Well, they didn't see it that way. After he did it once, they wanted him to do it like a career. And you don't mess with those people. He's like, well, you can't say no. So he goes again, but he told them they didn't want to keep doing it, just wanted to get paid. Well, they set him up to get caught while they're over there. He's a diversion while they're over there doing the thing. So I get a call that he's in downtown San Diego on a prison charge. Uh, wow. Okay. So he spent 4 months there before we had put together this memorandum that was like 70 pages. And it was letters from people in the community, friends, family, employees, etc., talking about who Cory really was. And it was quite in depth. And so at the hearing, the sentencing, the judge said, "This is the most extensive memorandum I've ever experienced, and I see fit to grant Mr. Roussel time served because I could see that the nature of the crime doesn't fit the nature of the defendant." And so, but not just time served, 4 months, which was unprecedented. He was just giving everybody the full sentence before that, but also 6 months with an ankle bracelet in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I lived, not in Austin, Texas, where he was healthy and whole, which was home, but in Baton Rouge. Well, he wasn't too happy about living in Baton Rouge, and he wasn't too happy when they told him you will not be moving back to Austin. You will stay here, you will do as we say. When we say you will work where we tell you to work, you're not going here and you are going here. Oh, you don't tell a person like Cory that. He's just super resentful and super angry. And at that anger, he really did try to toe the line. He did, but it wasn't easy. And he had failed a drug test like in December. Well, come around March, they knew they couldn't control him. And he wasn't doing anything illegal, but he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. And so they revoked him. But the week before he was revoked, supernaturally, I had this knowing to pray for him, Cory, to experience forgiveness. And I had my husband at the time and my sister praying with me. Within a few days, on a Saturday, he woke up and he had this supernatural ability to forgive. Now, mind you, he'd been in 12-step programs and rehabs, and he tried, but he never was able to truly forgive. And he felt like the weight of the world came off his shoulders, and he settled into this unshakable peace. Nothing was going to hurt him, nothing would shake him. And 3 days later, the federal marshals come in to the halfway house that he was staying in and said, "You are going to come with us. We're revoking you, and we can do this the easy way or the hard way. We could, um, you could resist, and then we'll kick in your teeth. We'll throw away all your stuff, and you're going to come with us. Or you can comply, pick up all your stuff, and then go easily with us." Which he just gathered up his stuff, like, and he had a big smile on his face. It's like, "Oh, we're doing that. Okay. None of y'all gonna hurt me." In fact, he was joking with the judge when he was there in when they first brought him in. He smiled for his mugshots because he was like, I feel like I just won the lottery because now I am going to transform my prison sentence into a time of personal transformation. Who gets the chance to just do that? Spend time working on themselves. So there he goes, and he turns his jail cell into an ashram, a temple, a college classroom, a psychotherapist's office. And he began to read prolifically. He began to write. He began to meditate for hours on end and to share with me and the family. Well, he's writing me these letters. At the time, I was Christian, and he shared with me this idea of we're all connected. I said, "Oh, wow. This is new information." And sure enough, he's like asking me, we wrote prolific. It's so much that I have published a whole book from these letters from prison. And it's called The Way Out, A Guide to Being Free from the Prison of Your Mind. It's very, very deep and very profound. So nonetheless, he decided that to tell me over and over, I want you to read the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Well, I finally did it. And I said, oh, this works for me. It was not totally 100% in alignment with what I was living, but I'm like, hmm. And then something happened, and I'm like, ah, I'm going to make a decision here. I am going to let go of everything I ever believed, good, bad, right, wrong, tradition, religion. I am going to go to the I don't know.
That's the most powerful state, by the way. It offers so much humility, new beginnings, a beginner's mind. It's something
Beginner's
the
mind.
Buddhists practice so that we are always learning. That is amazing, Denise.
Mira, thank you for saying that because I live in a city where everybody knows everything about spirituality and they're so full. But when you're empty, and you can empty yourself every day, oh, that's when you're really cooking with hot grease and you can really receive. And it's not like I arrived and then I'm done because I know it all. Don't work that way.
I feel like the more I learn or the more I'm exposed to stuff, the more I'm like, I really don't know, you know?
Yes, yes. And we're so programmed to view life with such a very limited perspective that it's not natural for us to think that we don't know. We think we know it all. And we trust in science, which is a joke. It's a joke. There's so much we don't know. So when I went to that, I don't know. I mean, I totally felt like I got flung off into outer space. I didn't have anybody. I didn't know anybody who was doing that except Cory, and he was across the country in prison. But I continued to grow and learn, and Cory was became like my guru or my teacher. We didn't say that, but he was preparing me. He was teaching me, and he went through the year of prison, and then he got out and he spent another year and a half before he passed. Well, the last 6 months of his life was a real like blossoming time, a real time of enlightenment. And one day he called me up and he said, Mom, it is our due diligence. It is our responsibility to document the truths and inspirations by which we live. And I had he created a project where you create a document like that, and his had quotes and little exposés. And when I saw it, and I'm a creative person, I'm like, oh, his birthday's coming up. I'm going to this into a little book, and I'm going to put the quotes on one side and the exposés on the other, like that. And I'm going to make this little book and surprise him for his birthday. So on his birthday, I had made these like from Office Depot. This isn't from Office Depot, but anyway, I hand him these books, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I wrote a book and I didn't even know it." 2 months later, he passed, and we distributed over 500 copies of those books over the next couple of memorials in the next couple of months. That was just the beginning. 16 books later, 15 books later. Yeah, but he
Wow.
started it all. And two and a half of the books are primarily his work. He was extremely prolific. Like who he is was like light years beyond what most people even can experience. So he's a very advanced soul. So anyway, um, going to how he passed. I don't want to go into the whole story of his death because I don't think it's relevant, but essentially, he was on his way to visit me in Baton Rouge, but he was going to stop off in Houston, Texas. He lived in Austin. Houston's kind of in the middle, and then there's Baton Rouge. He stayed a few days in Houston to visit one of his friends from prison, his best friend, and do some this, that, and the other. And he was supposed to catch a bus on Sunday morning and to visit me. And he didn't show up at the bus station because earlier that day he was robbed in downtown Houston. And then he subsequently, in the robbery, he hit his head like fighting over the backpack. He hit the back of his head. When you got somebody who's had a traumatic brain injury, they're susceptible to just like wigging out. And he wigged out, but he also got a brain bleed. And so he ran down into this parking garage, ran down 3 levels and collapsed and laid there for 18 hours before he was found by a security guard. So the day that Sunday, when his friend said he's not here, we're like, wow, what's going on? That wasn't the first time Cory's been in trouble. So we thinking, he'll show up. The next day, I spend the whole day calling hospitals and jails and people who may have seen him, blah, blah, blah. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I get a phone call from the Harris County Medical Examiner's office, and they're asking for my husband. And I'm like, is my son dead? And they said, yes. And I just started screaming, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They said, do you want us to hang up and call you back later? I said, no, what happened? And they said, it's a homicide investigation. We can't tell you, but you can call the detective's office. Oh my gosh. Trauma, trauma. We wind up taking us forever. They didn't call us back. They put us on hold for 20 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And then we found out what happened as best we knew. Wow. Yeah, that is like a super traumatic. And I want to say to those people who have experienced that sort of thing, my heart goes out to you. Yeah, this is like a real sucker punch. And the thing that was so different and unusual about my story and Cory's story is that because we had this profound experience and connection before he passed, he was preparing me for his exit, even though we consciously didn't know how it was going to happen or that it was going to happen.
And at such a young age, too, less
Yes, he
than
was
20.
27 when he passed. And so the thing about it is that I was experiencing two things at the same time. One of them is the intensity of grief and trauma. And the other one, which is what my human's experiencing, and the other one was being held by spirit at the same time. So even though I was just like completely sucker punched, completely, I mean, just traumatized and in deep grief, I also knew that something greater was happening beyond this. And it was like I received the gifts of perspective and acceptance almost immediately, and forgiveness for this person that initiated the process. I don't think anybody was trying to kill him. I think he was just being robbed, but he was the one initially that caused the death. And those gifts that came to me were like a saving grace. But even beyond that, I was immediately being supported by Cory. So I want to take a second to talk about this because by the end of this podcast, we're going to talk about connecting with your loved ones on the other side. But I want to specify something, and that is it's super, super important to feel your grief. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about how I work through my grief and how I heal myself. It's an ongoing process, and I learned it through this intense experience. You can't go around it, you have to go straight through it. So I'm having this experience of this intense grief, but at the same time, I am understanding who I am. Now, when you're in deep, deep grief and you can't see anything beyond the grief, your vibration is very low. And your loved one totally wants to connect with you, but it's hard for them because their vibration suddenly got very, very high. They're in spirit realm. So, yes, we need to grieve. Absolutely. Because you're not going to get around it. But at the same time, we have to find your higher self in a way to raise your vibration so that you can hold this part of you that's grieving and that you can receive the support from your loved one on the other side. So mine was a very accelerated experience because of the way it happened, but it's possible for anyone to experience that. And that's the biggest intention of my sharing today is to show you how that can be possible for you. Yes, it's my passion these days. So, um, 2 days after I found out that he passed, we had to go to Houston to view the body before it was cremated. And he looked gorgeous, by the way. And we each spent time with him. And then we gathered together, the immediate family and some friends. And I was standing next to Cory, was like right next to me. And everybody was sitting down. All of a sudden, I felt this like rush of like cool water. It was like racing up and down my body. It was exhilarating, completely exhilarating. And I was like laughing and crying at the same time. And I know my family thought I was losing it. And I looked at them and I said, he's not here. He's here. And that was the first really big, like, wow, this is insane. So the next morning, right before I woke up in the morning, I had a very lucid dream, and Cory came to me with a snake coiled around his arm, and the snake's head was in his hands, and the snake had its fangs bared. And I said, is it poisonous? And he said, no. And the implication was it's not going to kill you. And he took that snake and he put it right in my face. And I screamed, no, Cory. And I woke up crying. And I knew exactly what he was telling me. He was telling me, I need you to face your fears, Mom, because you have a big job ahead of you. And it's going to require a lot of courage. Up until that point, I lived a very fearful, risk-free perfectionist life. Guess what? That's not why I came. And he had to shake up my world to bring me to this new place. We're not here to have this little smooth sailing, everything's all hunky-dory. No, those of you especially who've taken on some really, really big challenges in life, there's reason for it. And you can do it. You can do it. You don't have to stay stuck. So anyway, here I go, launched onto the biggest journey of my life, this intense, intense grief journey. And the supernatural encounters with him just continued. They kept going on and on. He called me and told me, I have something for your birthday. I was like, I could hear his voice. And it was in once again a lucid dream. But then 3 days later, I find my one of his friends from dance at the Austin Memorial takes off this scarf that he had bought the day before. He said it reminded me of Cory, and he gave it to me. He didn't need a scarf. He just bought that scarf because Cory told him to buy that scarf. So there were like so many things. And when we get to the end of the podcast and I talk about how to connect with your loved ones. I'll share a few more. The biggest thing I want to say about that is that connecting in spirit realm is the most natural thing in the world. It's only unnatural to most people because they're viewing life simply from their human perspective, which is a tiny little portion of who you are. But when you can view your life from a grander perspective, an infinite perspective, experience yourself as an infinite being, and at the same time be fully human, that's when you're really living. Yeah, we didn't come here just to be all airy-fairy to be up there. We came here to do a job, and what we're doing here is we're remembering who we are as love itself, the most powerful force that exists, the divine matrix that holds us all together. It's not evident to us because when we came into these bodies, we agreed to forget who we were as love itself and to experience feeling very separate from love and life. And that's an ongoing thing. It's in our cellular DNA, and we're programmed that way. And that don't feel so fun. But as we open through beginner's mind, through just simple ways, we can find out, oh, I'm not just this little human who's on this stage of life experiencing all this crap. I am the love that I am. And nothing is impossible to me. Nothing is impossible to you. Anything is possible. And we begin to learn that, to live that way. And also, uh, telepathic communication is the form of communication in spirit realm. So we learn how to expand beyond what we use these senses. And this thing here, which is extremely limited. Now we start operating from here. Oh, now you're operating from your limitless abilities. So before I move on to sharing my a wonderful healing process that came to me, would you like to ask any questions?
Yes, I'm so in awe of the courage that it took to drop all your limiting beliefs and to take that plunge into the unknown. What sparked that, Denise?
That experience I had with Cory. Yeah. So, we were spending a lot of time writing each other and talking to each other. And then when he was out, we would spend some time together, even though we didn't live in the same places. But he was transmitting all of this freedom, all of this wisdom to me. So he was preparing me for that.
Yeah, and I definitely feel the new belief system, along with his help you prepare or just to handle his death better than if you didn't have these tools. I mean, like you said, it is profound grief, especially in the first few days and weeks that it happens. But
Yes. And especially when it comes to one of your own, because you don't expect that. If it's a parent or grandparent or someone older, maybe they've been sick, it's a little more, you more expect that that's going to happen. And you just don't expect a healthy young man to die.
it's the most unnatural thing for a parent to
Experience.
bury. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And I realized over time, not right away, that the real death was not really the death of Cory because he actually didn't die. His body died, but he didn't. We never die. It's actually doesn't exist. It's just the body that dies. I realized that the real death was the death of what I thought it should look like. All the expectations. around his life, around our shared life. And this is true for the death of a marriage, the death of a career, the death of like your health. The deteriorating health is like the real grief is over what we thought it should look like. We actually don't lose those things. We just think we're disconnected from those things and those people. But it's just a shift. And so now I recognize that he just moved to another dimension and he's very much here all the time. So I have access to him whenever I want to. And I have access to any spirit being whenever I want to. It's just he's not here in his physical body. And it takes a long time for that to sink in. It's not a mental thing. Mira, one of the things that's important to me is that I don't live in my head because of some information that has such limiting value. I live in a state of my heart, and it's about embodiment. I want to share with you the process that I learned of how to embody the love that we are. And it's really a gift that was given to me through this process for the world. It's an extension of what spiritual evolution has brought us to so far. And it kind of cinches the whole loop of this healing process. And I call it the SPACE process. So, SPACE is an acronym for stillness, presence, authenticity with acceptance, connection with compassion, and empathy. Now, I want to preface that when I talk about this SPACE process, you're going to say, oh, let me take notes. And now I know all this. And now I'm going to jump through all these hoops. And there, I'm done. I'm done. It doesn't work that way. This is an embodiment process. You don't go from here to here in a day or 2 days. Yeah, so it starts with stillness. I want to talk a little bit about stillness, and I'm intentionally not using the word meditation because it has a lot of connotations of what is right and what is wrong and blah, blah, blah. And everything that I share in this SPACE process, this healing process, is so simple and so easy. And what I've learned is to, if you are not in the habit of being still, which most people aren't, I want to invite you to develop a stillness practice starting with 5 minutes a day. And before I tell you how to do that in such a way that's so simple, I want to tell you the reason for it. The reason for it is because our nervous systems are so overstimulated that we cannot see anything past all the trauma and drama and all the crazy feelings and emotions that we're trying to constantly quiet or numb or distract ourselves from. So it's kind of like if I had sand in this uh, glass and I stirred it around, you wouldn't be able to see through the water. But over time, all of the sand goes to the bottom and then you can see clearly. So here we go. Our nervous system's going, wow. And over time, you just say, okay, just relax. Everything's going to be okay. Okay. So you just sit still. So, you know, when it comes to stillness practice, I invite people to sit in a chair with a bat. You don't want to be uncomfortable because if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to do it. You want this to be the most natural thing in the world, like drinking a cup of coffee or brushing your teeth. So when you get up in the morning, you sit in a chair, the same chair, turn on a timer. I like to use Insight Timer. I like to set some ambient music, set it for 5 minutes if you're not used to meditating, and ding, and just do the best you can to sit there. You don't have to worry. If you have to scratch your nose, please do. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about everything. You can think about whatever you want to. Just keep going at it. You may want to consider watching yourself thinking about everything, even if you're going over the argument you just had with someone. Just be there, just let it happen. And over time, you'll notice that it will settle your system. If you get triggered throughout the day, go sit in a chair for 5 minutes and get still. So that's a pretty simple thing to do. Sit still in a chair for 5 minutes. But when you first do it, it's not so simple. Okay. Some people, first time for me, I'm like, what? That's impossible. So, uh, it's not really. Just try it. It's the alternative to staying up all night, stressing out about something. Okay. 5 minutes in a chair, sitting still, or, stressing out and being completely anxious. Some people say, I didn't do it. I can't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it right. You can't mess it up. You can't mess it up. Just don't worry about it. When you can't fail, I mean, really, okay, do your best you can. If 5 minutes becomes easy for you and your soul says, oh, I think I could do a little more, I'd like to do a little more, add a few minutes and maybe ask your soul over a period of time, never forcing yourself. What is my end goal? Is it 10 minutes a day? Is it 20 minutes a day? Few people are asked to meditate beyond that. Few people. So don't force yourself to do a single thing. The part of you that's trying to whip you into shape, that's your spiritual ego. That is not your higher self. So we're going to learn how to be gentle and kind with ourselves. We'll never force ourselves to do anything. So that's stillness. And you don't, like I say, you don't go all the way to here. You have to start with that. Get a daily practice. Um, presence. Presence. The reason why it's important to be present is because presence is who we are, connected together with all that is. When you're present, you're operating from your divine, limitless nature, from your higher self, and you open yourself to being able to work with yourself and to operate in freedom in a whole new realm instead of going through this fearful loop of trying to manage and control everything. So our programming says that we're always like occupied. Think about your quality of your thoughts in any given time, me included. We're thinking about the past and we're thinking about the future. And it's not a natural thing for us as humans to be present. So with anything, we practice. We practice presence and we practice being present in the simplest of ways because you don't want to try to be present with your feelings when you're not used to being present when there's no trauma or drama around. And if you try to force yourself to be with your feelings when you're not ready, that is an act of aggression. So we start with simple ways, and one of them is throughout the day, think of your breath. Let's take a breath together and then just look around the room and notice what's here. Yeah, so we're just like bringing ourselves back to this moment. And then maybe a little while later, you said, oh, I'm going to think of my breath. And you go, and you just do the same thing, like, oh, there's that and that. I hear this and blah, blah, blah. So that seems so simple, and it is, but it's going to be important. Just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's unimportant. It's important, an important way to bring us back to this moment. I also like to check in if you want a little expanded version of practicing presence. That's practicing presence, checking in with your body, checking in with your emotions, checking in with your thoughts, and then checking in with your higher self. And in the interest of time, we're not going to go through that practice, but this is another way to practice presence. So another way is like when you're eating your food or drinking your cup of coffee to like Really look at it, taste it, smell it, look at it, enjoy it, give gratitude for it, be fully immersed in it. Another thing, and Cory taught me these things, by the way. This is before he passed. He taught me these things. Now he's on spirit form. He's a spirit guide, and my primary spirit guide. I have others, but so we're basically learning not to multitask. Now you're a woman, and I imagine that somewhere along the way, like me, that you were pretty good at multitasking. Am I right?
Yeah, we were told it's the best thing.
Yes, that's what we were told. And then it's not true. So Cory told me, he said, only do one thing at a time. Get fully focused and in the zone. Practicing presence with like sweeping the floor. Feel the broom in your hand. See the dirt as it's going along. Just completely like zone in. I'm chopping vegetables or meat. I'm just like, I'm like, you're doing your work. You're like in the flow, in the zone. Really. That's why athletes, they have this powerful ability to be present. Mountain climbers, I mean, they have to be completely present. If they make a mistake, they're not going to do so well. Yeah, so we quit this being distracted by everything and trying to do everything. What I found when I learned how to be present, I can produce at an astronomical level without being busy. And just to give you an example of that, in the first 4 years after Cory passed, I grieved the loss of a son. I published 10 books. I walked the Camino pilgrimage in Spain 3 times. I created lots of art. I ran a Airbnb business, and I did it all without being busy
Wow.
because I was operating from my higher self. That's what happens when you're present and you learn how to be present, but we have to practice it. It's like when you go to the gym and you say, well, I want to learn how to bench press 200 pounds. Well, you don't start with 200 pounds. Start with maybe 20 or 30 pounds. And you keep building. When you look at people, you look at them in the eyes and you listen and you fully immersed in the moment. So that's super important before we move on to the next step. So you can see that stillness and presence are like what's going to ground you. What you're learning how to do is to identify with your true essence as love, as presence. Because what do we try to do? We try to do the things right. We try to follow all the rules. We try to follow some spiritual practice or plan, but we're doing it from within our human limited resources, ability, and logic. And that means that we're going to be disciplined and we're going to have to be accountable to someone and we're going to have to whip ourselves into shape. Oh, it doesn't work so well. It's very limiting. And my God, that's the way we're trained. The way we go about healing ourselves is the exact opposite of what actually works. No wonder why we're having a hard time. It's crazy. Fear is running the show, trying to control and manage everything. So we're going to take care of that pretty simply by learning how to work with ourselves from the place of our true nature as love. So you must ground yourself with stillness and practice, and that doesn't happen in just a day or two. So now that we're getting a little used to being present, now we're going to start exploring a little bit, and we're going to go into being authentic and allowing and accepting our feelings. We don't like to feel sad. We don't like to feel angry and jealous and anxious and afraid. So we have all kind of clever ways to push it away, numb, distract, project, blame, all sorts of things to keep it away from us. And that doesn't work. So now we need to get super honest with ourselves. Most people have no idea how they're feeling in any given moment. They just go numb. How you feeling? Good. That's the extent of their emotional maturity. And that's not making fun of people, but it's just reality. So we have to start being honest with ourselves about how we really feel. Because let's say you can be happy and sad at the same time. And yet you want to feel happy, so you don't really say, "Oh, I'm really good. I don't want to feel that little bit back there." Well, we got to remember to go back there. And now I'm going to take a minute to share with you an analogy that's like super helpful to this process. And that is, I realized at some point in this journey that all of my feelings, sadness, fear, anxiety, etc., I think of them as my human self, as little girls, the sad one, the fearful one, the anxious one. And I have been pushing them down, locking away in the basement of my heart since I was a small child, because society and my family wasn't going to put up with that. I had to do it. But at this point in my journey, they're knocking on the door. We want to come out. We want to be seen, felt, and heard. We want to be loved and accepted exactly as we are. Oh, now we realize why it's been so difficult to heal ourselves. Because nobody ever told us that it was okay to feel sad and okay to feel angry. And nobody ever took the wrongness out of their feelings. So now I'm looking at it from another perspective and I'm realizing these little girls, they have suffered greatly on my behalf and trying to give me what I need and want, trying to protect me. And what have I done? Push them away, say, no, go away, I don't like you. Oh, well, now can I begin the simple process of allowing them to be here? Let's try this one little thing, Mira. I'm going to
Okay.
invite you and our listeners to close our eyes, and I want you to picture the sad one inside of you. But she's sitting in front of you, a younger version of you, and she's sad. And I want you to just smile at her. And I want you to say out loud, "You're welcome to be here."
You're welcome to be here.
Now open your eyes and tell me, what did she do when you said that?
Hugged me.
Oh, she hugged you. Some people say like they look at her like, "Really? Where are you and when are you coming back?" I don't trust it. Like, wow. You never said that before. So if you have an enemy, y'all don't like each other at all, and you say one day, "I want to be your friend," what are they going to say back to you?
They might be doubtful.
No, they will be doubtful. They will know. Absolutely. They'll say no. They probably say, "Hell no. I don't trust you." Really? This is another trick. Because we're really so mean to ourselves. We really are. So you have to build a relationship with these parts of yourself that you've been pushing away your entire life. You can't just start it all over all at once. Little by little, you gain trust. How do you gain trust? By showing up as love and compassion, as your true nature, instead of trying to force. Like if somebody came knocking at my door that I just did the same thing, and I said, come on in, tell me all about it, and then leave because I don't really like you. You think you're not going to trick yourself, okay? Yeah, they know. And so little by little, we build a relationship of trust. We start allowing the feeling to be there. We say things like, it's okay to feel sad. I'm feeling sad now, and it's okay to feel sad. We take the wrongness out of them. And then we start going to the next step, which is accepting them. I accept that I feel really sad and that I'm afraid right now. I accept that part of me. So, moving on to C, connection with compassion. This is part of that building that relationship. So, when you're in that situation where a feeling comes up, you're willing to own it, you're willing to allow it, and you're willing to say, "Hey, you're allowed to be here," and go a step farther and say, "Would you like to tell me all about it?" Now, in the beginning, especially with the bigger feelings, you may not be able to spend more than 5 or 10 minutes listening to that part of you because it's too much. Respect yourself. And you might say something like, in the very beginning, you might say something like, I'm not quite ready to be with you, but I would like to be. Please be patient with me. And you get more still and more present, and you gain more awareness of your true nature. And then, hey, I have about 10 minutes. I would love for you to tell me what's going on. And then I'm going to go take a walk or a bath. And you little but never forcing yourself, never forcing yourself. And so eventually you get to the point where you're ready to listen at any point because you realize who you are, love itself. And you realize these are parts of yourself that have suffered greatly and they just want to be heard. So then we move into E, which is the empathy. Now, I really like this because it's closing the loop and learning some vocabulary that was never modeled to us. And I'm going to tell you a little story to illustrate this. Um, Imagine this little kid on the playground and he got pushed down and treated poorly. When he came home from school that day, he's acting out and he's throwing a temper tantrum and whining and crying and all this stuff. And the mom can say things like, if you want to cry, go to your room because I don't want to hear it. And by the way, this is how we do to our feelings, okay? Um, or if you want to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. And or I am not even going to pay attention to you. I'm going to ignore this negative behavior. These are all things we say to ourselves, okay? So all we knew, no judgment. That's all we knew to do. So along the way in human evolution, Eckhart Tolle comes along and he said, "Hey, just observe your feelings and your thoughts." And so you might tell that kid, "You're welcome to throw your little temper tantrum, go cry in the middle of the living room floor. I'll just sit over here and watch you, and it's okay." And that has some value. And we can't go from like here to here. Okay. So we had to progress to get to that point. So this next part is the part that I'm bringing to the table. And that is when they're finished, because by the way, when they're screaming and crying, you ever seen a kid throwing a temper tantrum and you try to talk to them? They can't hear you. No, they have to calm down. And when they calm down, you're like, "Hey, come over here, sit in my lap, and tell me all about it." And they say, "So and so threw me down on the playground. I got a bubble right here. Oh, okay, let's give you a little band-aid on this here. I'm so sorry." And like, "I don't know why they do this, and I feel so terrible." And you just hold them and you say, "Hey, you're safe now. We're here. I'm here for you. It's okay. We're not going to let this happen to you. And I love you." And so we have to be able to get to that point where this human part of us will allow us and will trust us. And one of the ways that I use, and this is really after you've developed some stillness and presence, is a practice called audio journaling. And so basically, whenever I feel anything, and this is preferred over just writing, and it's preferred because the quality of you hearing your voice is much better, and also it's instant. Like I can hold up my phone and talk at any time. And I may scream and cuss and cry and call people names. Anything goes. Just like, woof, let it out. And then directly afterwards, you listen to it. So what's happening here is I'm giving space for this human to open, to express, unfiltered. And then I'm giving space when I listen to it for my higher self to hold me with compassion and love and non-judgmental presence. So what I learned, this is another little short story. It's like Beauty and the Beast, where the beast is the prince in disguise as the beast, and he's waiting for the kiss of unconditional love to set him free. And Belle can't know that he is the prince. She must love him as the beast. And when she kisses him, he morphs into the prince. And what was shown to me is that our fear, let's put all of our stuff into that one word. Our fear is love in disguise, waiting for the kiss of unconditional love. When we're able to accept and love our fear as it arises, we transform it back into love. So this process, I mean, you just go through this process of loving the hell out of yourself, genuinely from the love that you are, and you're literally transforming your feelings back into love. This is how you embody the love that you are. It's not a mental thing. So our sadness is our joy in disguise. When you're able to accept it and love it as it arises, poof, transform it back into joy. That's one of my signatures is joy. You're like, well, how could you have had such a terrible experience and be joyful? Because I learned how to transmute all that sadness into joy. Yeah. So our anxiety is our peace and excitement for life. Our anger is our power and our passion. And I've learned how to transform all of my shadow back into the light. This is how we remember who we are.
I love that.
Yes, yes. This is big work. It really is. Yeah, but it's the most
Not for the
exciting.
faint-hearted.
What's that?
It's not for the
Not for the
faint-hearted.
faint-hearted. This is big girl, big boy work. And when you're operating from your higher self, from the love that you are, tending to your human self, oh man, now you're cooking with hot grease. Now you're truly living. It's so fulfilling. And I could say that. And when I say that, it's coming from a place of actually living that. It's not just words. It's the frequency of this is who I am and this is how I live my life. And it's amazing. It's an invitation. Yeah. And it can be a lot for someone who's in the throes of grief to hear that. So I'm not minimizing in any way, shape, or form the intensity of grief and heartbreak, because even beyond Cory's passing, I had some pretty big heartbreaks. And it was how I learned how to heal myself, getting my heart broken over and over and over. And this is why I came to evolve consciousness through my experience. So we as humanity, we're exploring every aspect of humanity. And every soul chooses the route and what they're going to explore and learn. And so if you've gone through something, that's what you've chosen. to experience so that ultimately you can have the choice to bring it into freedom. And a lot of people may or may not do that. It doesn't matter. Everybody's contributing. We're all one in different versions of the one doing this work. And it doesn't matter if people are the villain for most of their life or all of their life. Doesn't matter. If you're the villain, doesn't matter. You're still playing a part, and we're all working here together. And no one of us is better than the other. Yeah.
I feel it's the most courageous ones of all who take the villain roles.
Yes. That
Those
is a
are
lot of courage to take on and to take on, like even thinking about Cory being the black sheep and created a lot of trauma and drama for my family alone. And so from the human viewpoint, you look at it and like, wow, that wasn't so cool. Well, he was the black sheep. But from the spiritual perspective, I'm like, golly, he took on homelessness, he took on uh, prison stay, he took on addiction. These were big things. These were big things that he was coming to make a difference, to evolve consciousness. We're all connected. So when you do this work with yourself, you're putting that up into the heavenlies. And anybody who taps in through stillness and presence, they can avail themselves to that energy and more rapidly move forward. It's part of the evolutionary process because we're all connected. So it's not even just for you, it's for all of humanity. And we're accelerating at a very, very rapid pace. So we're awakening, and everything that you do to love the hell out of yourself contributes to the whole. So, if you're ready, we can move into connecting with our loved ones on the other side.
I can't wait.
Yes. So, the first thing I've already shared with you the space healing process. The first thing is to raise your vibration. You can, and I invite you to feel all of your feelings because that's the only way you're going to heal them if you feel them. But you can't stay in that. You have to be able to identify as the love that you are holding the human that's feeling separate from love. So that's the state of being that you operate from. So that now you primed yourself with the to be at a higher frequency to connect on the spirit level. And so it doesn't really just mean your loved ones. It could be spirit level, spirit, your higher self, anything. Because actually, in the end, there's no distinction because we're all one, okay? But you identify with your loved one, and it's natural for everybody who's lost someone close to them, especially if it's their kid, to want to be connect with them. And it's because the human feels so intensely separate from them. Over time, as you connect with them, your idea that you're separate from them dissolves and your connection becomes more frequent and easy, graceful. And so I actually feel closer to Cory than I did when he was in his body because I have immediate access to him and he's not being a scoundrel. Because we can be scoundrels sometimes, and he was a scoundrel a lot of times. So um, that's the first thing is going through your own healing process and raising your vibration because they're at a very high vibration. Second thing is releasing limiting beliefs. So I'm going to name a few limiting beliefs that people have that I have had. People are going to think I'm crazy talking to dead people, and they're going to lock me up. Okay? They're going to judge me. Okay? The second one, this is wrong. This is taboo. You don't talk to dead people. Number three, this doesn't exist. It's not really happening. You can't do that. They're gone. Kaput. So what I realized is, I mean, I was having crazy stuff happening from the get-go, ongoing. And it did take me, I was allowing it, but I wasn't like fully like addressing these limiting beliefs until after a few months, I was like, oh, I have these fears and limiting beliefs. Why am I going to let somebody's thought about me and how I live my life control my life when I can have this amazing experience with my son? Oh, I can let them have their reality and I'm going to go about and have mine. They can do what they want to do. It's not my business. I'm going to live my life. So, and I think that's important in general. You know, we're so worried about being judged by people. Why are you going to let other people control you? Just love that fear of being judged. Just love the hell out of that part of you and say it's okay. This is going to be a whole lot more fun of being afraid and controlling ourselves. Well, we're going to be free. How you like that?
Love it.
Sometimes I talk to my shadow. I'll see myself over there, like little sad one or fearful one sitting over there in the corner. And I've been doing this from a place of love, and I'll say, "Hey, are you enjoying yourself over there?" And she's like, "No, I'm not." I didn't think so. Come over here. It's more fun over here. I'm inviting you into joy. And you have to have a relationship with yourself before you can say that. Yeah, and you have to have given space for that part of you to be heard. But yeah, when it keeps lingering, you're like, it's okay. It's okay. Just come over here. It's going to be more fun. Trust me. Okay, so we've raised our vibration. We've released our limiting beliefs, and now we're going to move into some practical stuff. First one is numbers. Numerology is like super important. So the birthday, the passing day, the age of the person that passed, the year that they were born, all of these things are significant numbers, or they may also have a number associated with them, like Cory's is number 4, and I'm number 9. So his birthday is 822. So those three numbers could be 228, could be 282. Anytime I see those numbers, it's like a little wink. Cory reminded me, I'm right here. I see that all day long. Every day, I may see it up to 5, 6, 7 times a day. So you look on license plates, you look at time, you look at numbers on signs, wherever. And that's the thing. You know, like if you're not used to noticing something, you think it's not there. It was always there. You just didn't notice it. So now this is a little tip that you can start noticing ways that your loved one is trying to connect with you. To be sure, your loved one is always trying to support you, always trying to connect with you, always present, available to you, wanting so much to be there, supporting you and communicating with you. It's up to you if you're going to start meeting them because we're no longer in the physical realm. They're going to meet you as best they can, but now you got to change the way you communicate and receive communication. So, music, lyrics, music, all sorts of things. Music is really a wonderful way for spirit to connect with us. One time I was riding down the road and I could tell, I can receive messages and talk to Cory pretty freely, but I'm riding down the road and I was telling Cory, I need you to do such and such, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, it doesn't work that way. He said, I'm not your genie. And what he was trying to do is he's pointing me back to myself. He's like, I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to tell you the future. You don't put me up on a pedestal. I'm not Santa Claus. So as soon as he said, I'm not your genie, on the radio came the song "Oh My Gosh, by Golly," and the lyrics were, "You're my genie in disguise, full of wonder and surprise." He was pointing me back to myself. Yeah, that's the thing. We want to venerate people, and it don't work that way. We're all one. You're a sovereign being. And yeah, you're your own guru. They're here to support, not to do it for you, and not to control you. So, dream visitations. Every night, you may or may not remember your dreams, but I do encourage you to develop a dream work. But because we do a lot of work at night, and you can actually experience things in dream world and not have to experience them in the physical world if you do that kind of work. But dream visitations, we're actually going into other dimensions, and it's really potent. And you can set an intention. I would like to connect with my loved one in dream world. And it's not going to happen overnight. You have to develop this, but you're being open to communicating. And a lot of times for me, the dreams right before you wake up is kind of a different dream state. It becomes more of a lucid dreaming state. It can be very, very real. But whenever your loved one shows up in a dream, they're really visiting you. And there's so many things that how they can support you. And I remember there are a number of times that, Cory would show up, and sometimes, most recently, we are just like dancing and hugging each other. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're back. And the 3 months after he passed, 2.5 months after he passed, it was New Year's, and had a dream, and it was like I could touch him, feel him, like, oh my gosh, how are we going to explain this? You're back. He said, I could be here for 30 more days. And so I had remembered the Tibetan Book of the Living and Dying. I'd read that. And it talks about the Bardo states. So if you remember Jesus showing up on the shore and to Peter and the disciples after he passed, there's kind of like the immediately after they pass, they could be more physical. Now, he wasn't meaning that he was going to be literally in a physical body, but he began over the next 30 days doing some stuff that was just so wow, really, potent. So develop your dream world and know that when they visit you in your dreams, they are visiting you. Animals, insects, creatures. There may be some affiliation with something. Some people have butterflies and ladybugs and whatever. With Cory, it was lizards. And so I had a lizard on my kitchen screen, a little horned lizard. He sat there for hours, for days. Like, okay, having a visitation. Um, Synchronicities. So synchronicities, it's like intentional coincidences. They're not random. And the more that you raise your frequency, you will experience synchronicities like the one I told you about, the music, for example, where the music, but it's like, how could that possibly be? How could this happen and this happen at the same time? And it's another way of spirit communicating with you, supporting you, and letting you know, yeah, we're here. Or other things like you think of someone and then they call you because we're all connected. So the deeper you go into spirit realm, which is really your natural state, the more you're able to communicate beyond this physical capabilities. Yeah, and this is not even just with people who are on the other side. This is even telepathic communication, supporting one another through spiritual energy and prayer. It's beyond our human thinking, but it's more real than this physical body. You know how like a dog can smell and hear way wider range than we can smell and hear? Well, think about like how limited our vision, our hearing, our smell, how limited our human abilities are. Now then just expand that out to infinite lines. So when you're operating from presence and communicating in this way, and learn how to communicate this way, you don't have those limits anymore. You're not saying, "Oh, I have to see it to believe it." That's the most limiting thing you could say.
I think it's the other way around, right? We have to believe it and then we'll see it.
Yes, yes, exactly. So you can ask for help. And one of the things that Cory's really good about uh, is helping me find stuff, or if I get stuck and I don't know how to do something. But I had gone to Six Flags to meet my kids, and I was in a hurry, and I parked in the parking lot, and there were lots of people coming that evening. I forgot to look because I was in a hurry. I forgot to look at the little number where I parked. And an hour or two later, I go out to the parking lot. I'm like, I know I'm in that area, but oh my gosh, I don't know where my car is. I was probably walking around for 5 or 10 minutes. And I finally said, Cory, I need help. So I, I closed my eyes and I went, I pointed, I said, I'm going to walk in that direction. And within 5 seconds, I was clicking the little thing. I'm like, there's my car down there. So we have that available to us. Yeah, and of course, the telepathic communication. It's just like I'm talking to you, you can talk to me. We have to develop that. And so I want to share with you a few little truths that Cory shared with me in some of these experiences. And one of them, I had gotten off of a phone conversation with someone, and it was like, oh, crazy. And I said to Cory, and by the way, there's his birthday right there, 228. I said to Cory, what do I do with that? And he said, that's her reality. Let her have her reality. That was a truth that has stuck true to me today. I don't have to convince anyone, try to change anyone. Let people have their reality. It's none of your business. Go about your own business. If the world knew this, we would not have war. We would not have war. You don't have to have somebody believe or do anyway just because you think it's the right way. That's their way. And even if they're going about to jump off the side of a cliff or, walk off the side of a cliff, I mean, you could say, hey, look, there's a cliff over there. But look, they have their own journey of what they're going to experience. They have to go through it in order to heal it. You don't have any place to say this is wrong. They're going to go through that because that's what they agreed to do. Let them have their reality. Another time, Cory and I, we were mother and son. He was amazing, but he was also a scoundrel at times. He was bad. When he was good, he was very, very good. When he was bad, he was horrible. And so I asked him one time, why did you resist me so much? And he said, I wasn't really resisting you. I was resisting parts of myself I wasn't ready to be with yet. That's another universal truth. We take things so personal when people try to resist us. It's not about us. They're having their experience. Let them have their experience. Deal with your own feelings about them resisting you. That's your opportunity. How do you feel about that? If you're angry about that, be with your anger. Stop fighting with other people trying to get their energy and approval and all this. Don't work that way. Starts right here. Freedom starts right here. And I'm changing the world right now. We're changing the world from Austin and from Florida here now because we're moving beyond this physical dimension here and we're opening to this love that we are. And we're all connected. So we're affecting a powerful world change. It's not outside of us. It's not outside of us. It's all inside of us. When you realize who you are, you stop trying to get the monkey off your back, go to the next modality, do the next step to get it right. And you start going inward and loving the hell out of yourself. It's never outside of yourself. That's how a true change comes in. So that's what I have. Do you have any more questions?
I have three questions that I ask everyone. What brings you joy and laughter these days, Denise?
Just life, just being, just breathing. Like I have an amazing life. Wow, I get to be here. Yeah, I get to
That's
love myself. I get to love the world. I get to affect change in this world right here, right now. It doesn't get any better than that.
awesome. What would you say to young Denise who's about to embark on this great adventure of life?
Oh, it's gonna be okay. Trust me. It's going to get a little crazy, but trust me, it's gonna all work out.
And what would you say a final message for those who are either taking care of someone who is about to pass or themselves or just in the grieving process as well?
Mm. First of all, my heart is with you. This is difficult. I never want to minimize the intensity of the pain that's caused, but I want you to know you're not alone. We're here with you. We're here with you. And though you may feel alone, just know we're all here with you. Love is here now, and it's okay. It's okay. And I hope that anybody, especially those who've experienced the loss of one of their children, their sons or their daughters, that they will feel the liberty to reach out to me. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to hear about your loved one. I want to hear what their life was like. I want to hear your experience, and I'm open to that. So feel free to reach me.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing to help humanity. And yes, I will include the links so that people can connect with you, Denise. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here with me today. And I hope that everyone enjoyed this as much as I did.